Ladies and gentlemen, got back from Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. I think they got something they want to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. Washington, D.C. I think they got something they want to say.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back again with another episode of Politricks Podcast. I'm your host, Kerstyn, and I've got my lovely co-host with me.
Hello, it's Maxine, Democratic Wildcard. Hey, guys.
And the other co-host, my esteemed...
Hello. Everybody's favorite conservative in New York, Christopher Wright.
And we are the Politricks Podcast, everyone. Thank you for listening to us. We're the podcast that's like unlike any other political show. We're really like... I feel like what sets us apart from other podcasts, political podcasts, are the fact that we talk about it from a perspective that is both sides, and we also speak from the person of color's opinion. So that's what makes us interesting. So if this is your first time listening to us, take a listen. We do some research, let's be honest. We do some research, all of us don't work in politics. So we're not the ones that are, if you're looking for the podcast, it's going to break down all the facts and agendas and stuff like that.
All the numbers and everything.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We do like to bring in people who are in that political space so that they can bring that point of view for us. But for us, it's really about getting us like pumped up for 2020, and also just kind of having different discussions that we need to hear from both sides, because sometimes we've only heard one side for so long that we're not really actively critically analyzing it.
Yeah, and I think it's important also for even people who aren't of color who are listening to the show, because it gives you the true perspective of how we are feeling. Because we just talked, like in our last episode, we mentioned the fact that we feel like people pander and don't really speak to what's going on in our community. So this is a good way to get that perspective.
Yeah,
right. I mean, what would you say is one of the reasons why people should listen to us, Max?
I think that it's important that anybody's an independent thinker. You know what I'm saying? And I think that you need to really have the breadth of knowledge and understanding in order to make like the best decisions for yourself. And I think that's what we do. We give so many different perspectives, and it's important. And also because I think that, we're showing that you can have these discussions respectfully. Like, people think that politically there's so much vitriol and you can't have, respectful conversations. Productive is the word I was trying to get.
There we go.
Conversations, and you can. So, it's to be informed. It's to get a different perspective for yourself. It's to realize you can have these conversations across the board. Maybe there's someone you could reach out to now and start saying, hey, we can have this kind of dialogue. I don't know. There's many reasons why I think.
No, that's a great reason.
Yeah,
and also,
right.
and you hear sometimes we get a little heated sometimes on here, but you can get a little heated when you're talking to your friends and family too. But at the end of the day, still
Friends and family.
You still have dinner. You know what I mean? Still have Thanksgiving dinner.
And you shouldn't. And I honestly don't think people should really denounce their family friends for political views. Like, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, that's almost to me like sports. Like, you're like a Cowboys fan. Oh, sorry, it could be my uncle.
But I also think that people also have this misconception that if you align with yourself politically, it means you have to all-encompassing of whatever that it is.
Right.
And I think here we've shown that it doesn't take away from how you vote or how I vote, but there are times where you're like, I agree with you, or we'll say we agree with you. And that is not the norm, because before it's like, no, I have to down the line, every check the box has to be in alignment with this, and it doesn't. So your political identity is not going to change because you have a different viewpoint or you agree with someone across the aisle. And I think that's what we're trying to help people see as well.
Yeah. So this is, so we had to, I want, every episode from now, you're going to hear us basically give a spiel of why we're doing this, because we want you to understand it. There are some conversations that are being had now thanks to us. A couple weeks ago we saw a panel discussion at the Revolt conference, and it really mirrored what we do here, and we're really we're excited about it. It's cool that they're there doing it. They have a bigger platform, it makes sense, but it's basically the same thing that we that we do every week for the last 4 months.
Puffy, stop biting.
No,
I feel some type of way.
or put us on, or put us on the.
I'm just trolling you, Puffy. It's all good. It's all love, Puffy.
Or call us. We'll gladly take the show on. Show to Revolt. We'll gladly take the show where it makes sense for the more people, because again, it's about having the conversation. We don't do the conversation. We're basically, the fact that you can't talk to a Trump supporter is stupid. The fact that you can not talk to a Democrat is dumb. The fact that you are not politically interested is dumb. Like, we've got to either get involved. Now, again, one thing that we all say is both sides have problems. Like, we've already realized that the binary system has failed us, right? I made a point a couple episodes back about wouldn't it be great if, and thank God for you put it up on, because I totally forgot I made that point. Yep. She's good at finding those good clips. But one of those episodes in the past, we talked about the problem with the binary system and how it literally doesn't give you, it almost like makes it like the Crips and the Bloods, where you can't be like, I can't be with this person, or I'm Puerto Rican and you're Italian, I'm not allowed to be with you because I have to be only with Puerto Ricans. It's like these things that like block us from just
and people don't know that stunts your growth a lot of times in life.
Thank you
if you think like that.
All right, I agree with you guys. Well, let me just continue with the intro. Thanks again to everyone for listening to us, and keep liking, sharing. I know you guys enjoyed last week's episode. Thank you for tuning in. We're back again. So you can of course follow us on Politricks Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Politricks Pod. Find us on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, definitely hit like, subscribe, leave a comment. You can also listen to us on the app, on your Apple Podcasts, Apple iPhone podcasts. Or you can listen to us on Spotify, SoundCloud, the Anchor app, and we're also on iHeart. So we're all over the place. We're literally everywhere. Help us get this podcast charting so that we can be one of those podcasts that like is, number, I don't know. We'll take number 30 or something. Help us get
for 30.
That's what we need to get. We want to start charting. So yeah. And I know we're new, so it's going to take some time, but keep sharing it. And also you can donate to us on Patreon. We're, and join the Proud to Pay campaign and support this show. All right. So guys, tell me what was going on this week for you guys. How was your week?
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, my week wasn't too bad. I recently went down to an neighborhood. What was it over in? I want to say that's the Queens area, I believe it was. Far Rockaway. Is that? I believe that's technically Queens.
That is Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Wait, Far Rockaway.
Yeah,
I think that's Brooklyn, right?
That's Queens.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
It's
my
around
bad.
that area.
I don't know.
I know we crossed a huge bridge to get over there. So, but we went out to that area because Trump has been donating money to NYCHA, which is like a housing development in the city.
In the city, yeah.
Yeah, so we went to his first
Trump has been donating, like his own personal funds?
Oh, not his own personal fund, but he's been allocating
funding.
Okay. After you rephrased the word, allocating
because I was just like, what?
No, not donating, allocating.
He doesn't donate to anything.
But he's $130 million a month to New York and building up the housing, and he's working with Dr. Ben Carson with HUD to get things done in the city. And so we went out to like the first housing development area where, and we kind of, me and my friend Mike, we kind of walked into like a walk and talk video, just discussing it. And like, we're going to start coming up, hopefully the town halls that they're going to start having around the city where we're going to make our presence felt.
But why did you guys do that? But what was like, was there an event there or something?
It wasn't an event. We're just, it's just the first development site. So we're showing people that, it's not just talk, Trump said he's supporting NYCHA, and we're showing them this is the support. And if you see things improving in the city... Well,
is it improving? Was there something that you saw, like construction-wise, that is good, or what was the... Well,
what happened is the lady, her first name's Lydia, I'm bad with names, but she is working with the Trump administration for NYCHA, and she went and lived in that area in Far Rockaway for, I believe, 3 months. She lived there amongst the citizens, and she did that to kind of get a good idea of what is really, like, what is the people living here dealing with. And after she did that, she said, okay, this is what certain things we can do in the housing to improve the housing around here. So that's where we're at now. Now she's not living, no longer, now the 3 months has been, she's done now. It's time to work. So we're trying to get out there and see, what exactly is getting done. And we want to go to town halls and hear people speak that are from the locals in the area. Because when I posted a video on YouTube, I got a few locals very upset with me. I went back and forth with them, schooled quite a few.
Upset about what?
Whoa, what did they say?
They just pretty much saying, we from this neighborhood, you ain't from here.
Yeah, project buildings, like the people in the project buildings. I was trying to shoot a short film in a project, like it was for the film, and it's like we had to pay them. We had to pay them. Yeah. Like
we were getting some side
someone
looks
to protect us. So we had to pay someone that lived in the area to protect us while we were there, because they like, it's like, you can't just like come into their area. Like it's their
and
place.
especially with cameras. You got cameras walking around and you're like, who the heck are you? You know, what are you doing here?
But how do you know that what you were seeing was not just like the normal development? Like, what was it different from?
That's what some of the people were saying on the comment section, like that.
Because they're always developing.
Yeah, of course, New York. You know, and that's why I like I said in the video, and I'm stressing again, and I mentioned when I replied to a lot of comments, is that's why we're going to the town halls, because that's where the people were coming to speak, to go in details. And I said we would like for you guys to show up as well, so we can, let's have this conversation. Like, I'm not here to fight anybody or argue with nobody or say, look, my president's doing, he's going to fix everything. No, it's just like, man, come on, man. If he's donating money, if he's allocating money and things are getting done and it's benefiting everybody, we can all talk about it. This is my West Side you're on, because this is not about politics anymore. This is about improving the inner city.
Got it. Cool. What did you do this week?
My week was insane. Like, work was really, really crazy. And in fact, I think it was a moment of like self-reflecting, because I just kept having so much more responsibilities put on me, and it just was a reminder that like I need to learn how to say no.
You're a boss.
So but I'm just taking on too much, and
I don't think people know that listen to the show. Like, Maxine is a boss. She is a CPA, an auditor for a corporate bank. She is kicking butt. Okay. And she's a single mom of 2. And she has this podcast, and she has a whole list of other things that she does. Yeah. And she's also a philanthropist too. So,
but I need to like remember myself and self-care, and not forget about those.
Don't lose yourself.
Yeah, this week I was starting to feel like I was. Wow. So it was one of them kind of moments. Yeah. I'm not gonna allow that next week. So yeah. Boundaries, people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's pretty good.
It was pretty good. I'm just working. One of my artists are on tour, so doing that. Just music related work. What else have we been up to this week? This week was pretty chilled. It was standard. Not a lot going on, but always trying to figure out new ways to enhance my business, because I'm an entrepreneur, so for me it's always like trying to create new like ways to like hire new people, bring in get other new clients. Like it's just always a grind in my line of work.
Stressful.
Yeah, and I got some deals that I'm doing that's been taking a couple months to kind of open up, and recently I just got the deal memo, so I'm hoping that some cool things I'll be able to announce.
Nice.
Good news.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's just that's why I say it's kind of standard, but it's also like it's just always constantly just kind of reinventing yourself and reinventing the wheel. So so this is kind of this topic. I mean, it's funny, I actually have a topic about entrepreneurship in this topic, so you guys ready to politic?
Let's do it.
Always.
Cool. So I'm going to actually start there, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
Because I read this, I think I saw this on social media somewhere, and I did some investigation, and I read an article about the Gudient Financial Survey found that in 2018, 48% of small business owners were minority ethnic groups. This was already a dramatic increase from 2015, when the amount of minority business owners was just 15%, the biggest increase among minority small business owners.
Look at him. He's already got his Trump thing going.
However, has been the huge increase in the number of African-American small business owners here year over year. 400% increase in a year-over-year period between 2017 and 2018. Following African Americans, Hispanics were the next largest group of minority small business owners, representing 14% of the business owners in this survey. The research showed some of the reasons behind the prolific growth of minority small business ownership is specifically 62% of African American small business owners cited their desire to pursue a passion as a reason for starting a business. Another 53% of African American business become a small business owner because of the opportunity presented itself. So my question to you guys, are African Americans better off now than ever before. What are some of the factors for the surge in entrepreneurship that you guys kind of find?
What Trump's done with the tax cuts.
Here we go.
This versus the beginning, folks. Little black unemployment in American history you're talking about here.
Wait. Repeat. You're saying that because Trump's tax cuts that black people now...
Tax cuts for small business owners. So your benefits and what happening, a lot of businesses that were in other countries are now coming back to the United States and bringing their business here because they got the lower tax cuts for opening a business here. Where at one point in America, it was the direct opposite. That's why a lot of businesses were going out of America, going to China, going all across overseas. So now they're coming back. So that comes with more business, comes more jobs, comes more property to own your business. And blacks are taking advantage of that opportunity. And, that's why I said all the time with President Trump, the policies he's passed doesn't benefit white people. It benefits Americans.
I don't think
that means if you're black.
The only thing is I don't think it affects small businesses. That's the only thing. I think it might affect big corporations, but I don't think small businesses, because I'm a small business and I'm telling you, my taxes have not changed.
Here in New York too, though. Yeah.
That's true. But that's the only thing. It's like I would love, the only thing is I don't have to pay New York tax, but that's a federal thing. I only it's just because I live in Jersey, so I used to pay 2 taxes, so I actually do. But it's not great, But
when did that change happen?
No, it's always been that case.
Oh, okay.
That's always been that case since I moved there. But what I'm trying to say is that New York stopped you didn't have to pay New York taxes because you were in New York, if you're a small business. So here's what I think, and that was during Obama, if I'm not mistaken. I have to see with my accountant. I'm horrible with this stuff. But what I was gonna say is, I hear what you're saying. I think it's more macro for Trump, on Trump's approach, but on the micro level of a actual entrepreneur. Speaking from experience, since 2008, I've been an entrepreneur. I've never I've worked a regular job after college for maybe 2 years and started my business. And I've been running my business ever since. And what I think that makes people of color, I think a lot to do with it is, I do think Obama had a lot to do with it in terms of what he symbolized for people of color. So you have to say a lot of black people and Spanish people graduated college and kind of came into a really tough time in 2008. And it was literally our backs were against the wall. And we were well, what are we supposed to do now? You know what I mean? We thought we were going to have jobs and we were going to have a great, life. And it was just the economy had crashed. Mm-hmm. So what happened to a lot of people is that they decided I've got to start doing something that's not, that I have to start a trade and start some sort of business to just make money. And that's what I learned from the people around me, whether you became a photographer, a web designer, or you do whatever you could do to make money because your traditional job wasn't there after college. I know so many people that went to college and are not even doing what they studied.
That's why I said don't go to college.
I think it's for everybody.
Learn a trade, man. Make money.
You can go to college. Listen, I would tell you one thing. I wish I didn't go to college, and because I graduated with a lot of debt. And honestly, I don't know if I would have been better off mentally if I went straight out of high school, because I don't think at the time where I was in high school, I was I don't think I was prepared for the world. I know people would have, I don't know if I would just go straight to work.
I hear what you're saying. College does kind of give you that,
it does.
Kind of gives you, it's not your apartment. The dorm is kind of like that apartment feeling, and your parents aren't there. So
if you go away, but if you don't, you're just kind of commuting.
Community college.
Yeah. But even still, it's with college, I say college, elementary school teaches you how to just memorize stuff, how to memorize basic things. Mm-hmm. High school teaches you just how to retain it and take tests and stuff like that. College teaches you how to think. That's how I think. You know what I mean? Because college, you're critical. Everything is critical and analyzing. I
think it does, but I think it teaches you how to think on a certain narrative. That's why you have so many issues with college campuses, and you got these kids out here protesting, and they put a mic in your face. Why are you out here? And it's aren't you a college kid? Don't you get a PhD, a master's, and you can't tell me why you're marching? Should you be able to do that? Because you're in a way brainwashed. And that's why I have an issue, me personally, with colleges. I think the people, a lot of times, not all people, but people who do very well in college are people that are very well taking just listening and just whatever they're told to do, they're going to do. And with me, I've never been good at that because I feel like I'm always sort of I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be put in a box. So when you're telling me something, I'm like, well, why do I need this? Why is this important to me?
Right.
And that's my issue with colleges. I was always questioning, like, why do we need to take this class for? What's this for? How's this going to help me in the future? And that's not college is about. It's like just sit down and learn and get an A and get credit.
So what I was thinking is I would love to understand the data a little bit more, especially the age differential, because I honestly think y'all are both giving the politicians way too much credit with this example, because I'm gonna guess that majority of that increase is with millennials and younger people. So I don't necessarily think that Trump's tax things or Obama or a lot of these things, these political reasons are why people decided to run small businesses. I think it's a cultural and generational shift. I think that, you've got millennials now who don't want to do the 9 to 5. Nobody wants to do that anymore. They want to run their own business. They want to do their own time. They want to manage themselves.
Right.
No one wants to do this 9 to 5 grind anymore. They don't see the benefit of that. Normal trajectory in a career is not appealing anymore to people
for them,
right? And I think with the change in society and culture and the shift in technology and the movement of media and information and how fast it's going, it's changed the way people view that concept, and you can see it's so much easier for me to make a business and make money allegedly, than to just do the 9 to 5 for 25 years, you know what I mean, or 30 years. So I don't necessarily think it's Trump and now because I don't really think people know all that when they open up. I don't think a lot of
Obama because I didn't mean Obama policies wise. I meant Obama just because what he represented. I think he represented something like you can because for instance, a lot of the problem with entrepreneurs, right, is that I'm sure you could be a great entrepreneur. I'm sure you have all the skills. You work in business, I don't know what business you would go into, but I'm sure that if you put all your attention into it, I'm sure you'd be a really successful entrepreneur. But what happens is that people, the problem with people that are afraid to jump into that role is because there's fear. Right. So they're like, oh, I can't do it. They second guess themselves, or I have the bills. I have my great job here. I'm making this.
And
salary.
millennials take more risk.
Exactly. Yeah. But they take more risk. But because the reason why I said Obama is because what he showed you just on a very superficial level is, wow, this guy from nowhere, just nowhere, was able to become the president of the United States and get himself educated. His mom, he only had a mom, and mom didn't live with. He just had a really crazy life. To get there is whoa, he can do it. I can do it. I can get up and get a job. That's the only reason. That's how I tie it in. That's very, very, very. It might be a reach, but that's how that's how I seen it. Because when he in 2008, it was also very inspiring to people of color because it was wow.
But I feel like that would entice more people to go to college and get educated and be lawyers and accountants and politicians.
That too.
Or I don't know if
you don't think that's entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I don't know if.
But what about social media? What about the fact that
that's what I'm saying. I think people see. Look how much faster I can, start a little business over here and get so much more faster, financially secure. I manage my own time. Why would I want to go work for a corporation and got to do the 20 years and suit and tie and do that whole thing and act a certain way? And millennials are over that. It's like the Zuckerbergs of, who walk in and want to wear jeans and nobody wants to do that anymore. So I think that it's sexier as you're seeing online and social media. You're seeing people have these lifestyles and I want it faster. I don't want to wait 40 years to go cruising around the world. I want to do it now. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a whole shift, and it's just it's easier to access information. You can market faster. There's so many different ways in which you can make a business work, I think now.
Yeah.
And in a faster way in terms of success and performance. So I really feel like that's a bigger factor. That's why I would love to see the breakdown of the data. And I think that growth is going to be in younger people more, which will make sense to me. So I'm not giving your boy that much credit.
No. But the risk factor, it's easier to take a risk when it's a booming economy, and then in 2008 in the housing crisis.
Okay, that's
You're not
fair.
willing to say.
But I don't know if people who are about to.
I did it when it was a housing crisis. I did it.
I'm
saying you can't.
I did it the most. I mean, I was young, so for me it was I don't care.
Right, exactly.
But I don't know if people who are about to start a business actually taking. A lot of times people actually start business and don't even know about the tax and counting.
Yeah. Oh my god.
They don't really take into consideration all that kind of stuff. That's an afterthought.
I know, but I'm looking. If you get a lot of people around you being successful, and you see people around you being successful, like, wow, if they're doing it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
In the booming economy, there's going to be more people around you who are successful.
Yeah. And then what about the other? There's another thing that I think that the equalizer of social media, but the fact that like we were just saying like I can see someone doing well, but on social media everybody's doing well.
Yeah.
So no one really knows. It's like no one really knows. Like as an entrepreneur,
it's super. If anything, I think it's dangerous.
So hard. It is probably the hardest thing.
I think it's dangerous because it's superficial and you don't really prepare people for what it takes.
Yeah.
They just think it's this easy, fast-paced way to be successful, and they learn the hard way that it like doesn't, and they don't do the preparation they need to do. If anything, it's setting people up for failure. Hey guys, it's Maxine here with a special message for our listeners. I want to thank you for listening to Politricks Podcast and wanted to share an exciting offer to entrepreneurs and supporters. We are now offering businesses the opportunity to be advertised on our show during this mid-roll. If you're interested, please email hello@politrickspodcast.com. We are also taking support from our listeners through the Anchor app. Just click the Support This Podcast button and you can give whatever you want. The funding is helpful to increase our production so we can add video and start marketing and advertising for our podcast. We appreciate you and please continue to listen to the show.
Now that we have like now that you have the internet, right? The internet is the equalizer for everybody. Whereas you can say like if someone comes up to you and is like, "Man, I'm having a tough life. I can't get it together. You know, my life is messed up. My dad was a drug addict, this and this and this." And it's like, "Well, you can sell stuff on an app. You can do Airbnb. You can drive a Uber. Like there's so much entrepreneurial stuff you can do from your phone.
Do alternative news.
You can do a YouTube channel and make money off of YouTube. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So, there's like first of all, sidebar. There's a little kid who opens toys on YouTube and makes $20 million a year.
Yes, I know that.
Opening toys.
Yeah, but you got to understand.
Why would you go to college? Why would you go? I mean, please, kids, go to college. But I'm just saying, when you see that, it's kind of like, why would I work hard when I can open an egg?
Could you imagine?
I can't.
When I was young,
it makes me reconsider my whole life, like, and all the struggle,
or maybe have your kids, or maybe have one of your kids start opening some presents. Like,
girl,
have Jaden start playing with toys.
Totally like pimping that kid out.
Hello.
And there's some days where I'm like, because my kid is very talented. I'm like, Mommy needs to get her bag. Get to work. No, I'm just kidding. No, I take that back.
Listen, let's just say, but that's another thing though, because it's like that YouTube thing, that YouTube space is crazy. I know you have a big YouTube, but you said that you have problems with.
I'm a conservative. That YouTube is okay for if you're on left.
Why don't you start another YouTube channel that kind of
like a conservative media space?
Because you can. I told you, like, we have Patreon account. Why don't you create a Patreon account? Have your people support you and that side. Like, the point is that there's still a way for you.
Yeah, there's still ways.
You still can.
I'm working on other ways. I don't want YouTube to be my main source of income. I'm using YouTube mainly not to spoil my whole.
To get the following.
Get my base. That's more important to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's free and people aren't seeing ads because they know I'm not getting monetized, that they enjoy it. They're like, wow, Chris, you should be getting it, but it's kind of cool where we get to.
They can freaking donate if they want.
But I feel like, to bring it back to politics, like I always love to do, I feel like because we see this surge in entrepreneurship, it's even more plug politicians important that we teach kids in school about personal finance and like.
Why politicians do you want them to do that?
Because they need to put the funds and the resources into it. It's not a part of the curriculum. It's not something that they send through to the education system. And I'm not pinpointing any particular side, because whether it's state or local may depend on who's responsible. But I'm just saying overarching, they need to do, like, because kids don't even know how to do anything.
That's the stuff I was saying about school. I said school should be teaching things like, when you hear it, like, okay, I'm going to use this in life. I'm going to learn this.
Exactly.
Sometimes I hear things at school, I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, what? I don't learn this.
I remember, but we did like learn how to like fill out like a W-9. And,
what?
Like, yeah, I did.
What?
Was it a W-9 or W-2?
I didn't.
A W-2, not a W-9.
We did
a W-2.
High school?
Yeah,
I never
had that.
It had to pick marketing.
I don't know where y'all went to school.
We did that though.
No, not me.
You know what?
I went to school in the city. Where'd you go to school?
In the city, Manhattan, Upper East Side. I went to parochial school. Catholic school. All girl high school. And yeah.
Girl.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny when people hear, I'm like, you went to an all girl high school. How was that?
All girl Catholic high school.
But let me tell you how it was.
Man.
It was but it's New York. It's different. the experience was interesting in the sense that we had, it's one for girls. I think it's kind of cool in the sense that you can feel like I guess that's one of the things from my upbringing that's made me more independent, like just not feel like, because I think that sometimes in high school specifically, like if there were boys in my school, I think it would be a little bit harder for me to be to push myself, you know, because maybe I would be
distracted.
I see distraction.
I agree with that.
Or some people have insecurity,
or an insecurity of like wanting to show that I'm intelligent, you know, because that's another thing that a lot of girls struggle with, that they are a lot smarter than.
I hate when girls act dumb when around a bunch of guys.
Why? But you have to though. Because,
but you don't have to.
See, that's the thing. Well, you have to in the sense that I'm not saying you have to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean, but it's not. It's the fact that boys, right? Typically, this is how it's actually, if we break this down, because this is actually an interesting conversation. The teacher calls on the boys more. There's a study that teachers call more on boys than they do on
more teachers, more female teachers, aren't there too? And there are male teachers.
Way more female teachers.
Exactly.
But even it doesn't. Yeah,
that's so interesting. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's interesting that if more female teachers still they call on boys. But
they call on boys first, and so if you're being called on first, so they're always like. And even in college, I remember being called on never. You know what I mean? And I went to what do you call it? Mixed gendered.
What do you call it?
College. Yeah, co-ed. Thank you.
I'm
like, what's the word? I was trying to think of co-ed, but I was also in a majority white school, so it was just like, what the heck? It was all over the place. But the thing is. I remember not being called on. One thing I do remember, though, what I always felt, and I think for all the people who are listening that went to predominantly, I think they're called predominantly white institutions, PWIs. One thing that we all share, this experience of like, and I felt in like my sophomore year, is like almost like an inadequacy of like, damn, I'm just not as. For a second, you're like, I'm just not as prepared. Not that I'm not as smart, because I always knew I was smart, you know, and I knew that because when I would take my test, like I knew I was smart. But the problem is that I was just like not prepared, and I would see like my like white peers who were just so advanced and just their education and how they thought and analytically and how they could. It was just, there's so much more advanced. It's like, what the heck? And I went to a really good school. I went to a really good high school. I went to a pretty good high school. But I just wonder, like, I don't know.
I didn't have that experience.
Why? What experience did you have? Did you go to a PWI?
Yeah.
And what was your experience?
I went to I went to a small business school. Okay. Because I got a full academic scholarship.
Okay.
And, you know, you talk about black privilege or whatever, that I don't know what that word is, but I fully know that part of getting that had to, because I'm very intelligent. I did very good in school. We could see. But I could see that I was a quota, and I was fully okay with being a quota. I was like, you check that box with 100K, I'm good. Yep. I was a quota.
Okay.
But at the same time, I never felt that way.
You never felt like there was like the... I don't know. I really felt that in political classes specifically, because I managed in political science.
We study different things. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe that's what it was. Because it's like a different time of It's a different. But for me, it was just like the way they would just break things down and the way they thought, and it just made me go, whoa, all right. Let me go back. I got to go home and get some work, because I'm like, I just felt like, and then after sophomore year, we were on the kind of the same playing field because we were learning the same things, but I just felt like, and I think partly, this is just my particular opinion, that the fact that white people have had the advantage of education for a lot longer.
Passed on.
Right.
That's what
You know, like my mom went to St. John's University, but she's like the only one, like she's her family, her brothers and sisters went to college, but before that nobody did, right?
Yeah. Well,
but is that like northeastern elitism? Like it's not like the majority of the country.
And that's what I'm saying.
Would you say?
My grandmother was one of the first black women to graduate in Macon, Georgia.
See?
So my family, I noticed we were more advanced than a lot of my black peers when it came to school. You know, I couldn't stand school, but even then, like if I tried, I can really just.
But you said you always tell us the story of your dad gave you a book, like just that sense of like your father.
My dad was there,
but just like with white people, their parents always give them books. Oh, yeah. It's like
grandparents do them. Forget the grandparents. My white friends, I noticed their grandparents do a lot for them. So even the little boys and little girls, their grandparents are giving them books
and educating
and schooling them and educating them.
Yeah. Like you can see, like this is another topic that's not part of our conversation, but I think it's an interesting topic to discuss. is, especially people that live in New York City, one thing that I've noticed with like white parents, the way they educate their children. Now, I'm not saying that black parents don't do this. I think they're doing this a lot more. But when I was younger, I used to always see like white parents would, this stop is called 34th Street. You're going to get off and see the number 34. Okay. Which street do we live on? Oh, we live on 23rd Street. Okay. So how many more stops is that? I think that's it's 2 stops more. They're often teaching on little things like, what's this word mean? Like always educating them.
Oh, yeah. You see them all the time on the subway train. You see little kids saying, "Oh, this is our stop. This is where we get off."
Right.
And the parents aren't even talking to them. They just know.
They know. They're educated. And like with in the inner city, like I always feel like I don't see that teaching moments. I don't always see that.
Go on the basketball court.
You know, I don't even think that, but it's also like, it'll be like struggling mothers that
I was going to say
might be able to, so she's on the train and she's like just tired and she's trying to get her life together.
Your butt down.
Right. He's trying to ask you a question because he's trying to learn something and you're like yelling at him because he doesn't understand, like he's only 5 years old. And instead of explaining what street, you know what I mean? It's just, but there's another aspect. There's another type of education. That's why both parents in the households
are important though. Because when the mom's having a stressful day, dad's like, I got it from here. Focus on schoolwork and I'll do the rest.
I think it goes back to the whole, and this is generational curses and traumas of black families and parents feeling like their children, they're not supposed to have like a loving, affectionate, bonding relationship with them. I'm an authoritarian. I pay the bills. I have the roof over the house. You respect me. Like, it's just very transactional. And there's not a lot of that love and
love is the house
and growth development. That's the word I'm trying to get at.
That's a very good point.
Personal development. I think it's changing, and honestly, I don't know if
changing.
I don't know if just because we're like all black and brown people in the room, so we're like assuming that this is the case for like most black people, or this is the opposite for a lot of white families. I don't know if it's maybe too much of a generalization we're making here. I'm not really sure, but
I would agree.
I do think that there is some merit to say that has been the case, and it's been ingrained for generations that my children, I'm authoritative over them. I'm not supposed to do all of these kind of things. My love to you is me paying my bills, and you have a house and food. Like, I did my part as a parent. And love and respect me for that. That's more like a business to the
parent, in my opinion.
So I think that actually goes really deep into also like some like Asian cultures as well. Like,
they don't,
you know, where there's just like none of that at all. So I don't. But I think I definitely think it's changing.
They're very stiff too.
I definitely think it's changing.
What the heck?
We're having like
not nice.
For example, like, you know how in black families, like, you don't have conversations, like you don't speak about anything. You don't talk about anything.
No. The black parents talk, and then the kids are in the room.
With the kids. It's not like we don't
have a dialogue.
There's no dialogue about what's happening in the household, about important topics affecting the community. We don't have conversations. See, now that you're getting generalizing. See, now we're not all monolith. For the most part.
But you're right. A lot of times, and this might be that goes to what you were just saying. I think it's true. It's like the affectionate. I think affectionate is not. Black parents have to show children affection, but not just I love you, hug you, but affection for like your significant other, showing that
emotional intelligence,
like, you can cry, it's okay, we'll pick you back up. It's like there's
changing though.
It is.
I think thank
God, because I feel like our generation, specifically mine, I know my friends that have kids are way more. It's the way they're educating their kids are brilliant. The way they're giving them everything that they couldn't get from their parents, they're changing those stigmas.
Honestly, it's just like, I'm not trying to judge our parents. Like, with every generation there's improvement. They were doing the best they could with what they were taught. You know what I'm saying?
I learned a lot from my grandparents when I talked to my grandfather about how he raised my dad, and it made me understand my dad more. Because there's things about my dad, and I'm like, what the heck? And then when I talked to my grandfather, I'm like, geez, I see why my dad's like this now, you know?
Yeah.
And that, to me, if you look at the history of black people in America, it stems from slavery on, and after how our families were treated in slavery. And then when after slavery, we tried to get back together again, and then we kind of got split up again. And it's just, it shows. You can see the after effects of that.
Right,
if you look at it, and certain communities got affected more. Certain black people have been affected more than other blacks.
And look how, like, that conversation I had. I expressed the fact that in college I felt like there was an inadequacy a little bit in the fact of the way I was internalizing stuff, and I kept trying to challenge them. Like, why do I feel like they are more prepared than I am? What is it? Maybe am I not prepared enough? Should I go back? Should I stop taking naps during classes and go to the library a lot more? And I just started challenging myself. And then one thing that I couldn't understand is how we would all party the night before, and then they'd be at class, and I'd like either miss a class or get there late, and I realized that a lot of that stuff, and it kind of stems from the things that it's these generational things that we're just getting into these schools and just understanding. They're coming from parents that have had, my great-grandfather was in school, my great-great-great-grandfather was in this school, or helped create this school. So it's like, these are the things, like, it's still very, like, unequal. So the after effects come all the way to just on a very like limited level, like a small level, that we're still even feeling these things,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And even like it being on a train and seeing like the way a mom would teach her child, or a way a mom would be like, just leave me alone. I need like 2 minutes. I don't want to talk to anyone. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just, unfortunately, these are the things that we have to go through, until we can.
And we know there is exceptions.
Of course,
there
is
someone out there like,
That's
there's
not
a
me.
poor white family and blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
We know
We're talking about mainly black issues.
generally speaking.
Generally
speaking.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I also think a sense of community is very important too, because a community can help people that are struggling.
Educate your kid too. Like, oh, you don't know about this? Let me help you out with this. Or like if your next door neighbor is an entrepreneur, then your mom works 9 to 5, and you take the time to go meet with your neighbor, and she's breaking down how she does real estate and how you can earn real estate and knowing how to buy properties. Like, all that stuff is.
You see that a lot in the Jewish community, by the way.
Oh,
that
my
kind of
God.
activity.
Oh, you know what's interesting? Oh, wow, this is a very interesting thing. So this is something that I didn't realize this, and I knew this was happening, but I didn't really realize. I just thought, how boring is that Jewish kids have to go to school on Saturdays to like go to like Hebrew school.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so boring. They got to go to school 6 days a week. Oh my God, that's so boring. But when you think about that, the advancement of that, going to school on Saturday while we're out playing basketball.
I believe Asian countries do that too.
Asians do it too. They're going to Chinese school. And we wonder what happens in those classes. What are they learning that we're not learning? And now we wonder why I sat in that classroom feeling a little bit of inadequacy. I'm not saying that it's specifically because of those things, but think about that. I'm thinking how boring. Oh my God, they have to go to school for 6 days a week.
They get a sense of culture too, I think, as well.
They're teaching about their religion and stuff, but it's not only just religion.
It's not just that, but I'm saying it helps their sense of, like our people do this, other people don't do this. This makes us different from everybody else.
But you know why? Also because the education system is flawed. It doesn't talk about the Jewish migration. It doesn't talk about the Chinese empires and the Sham.
I always say all the time, history in America, history needs to be changed.
So what if black people taught themselves on Saturdays? What if they went to a class where they learned about like African Americans
and how they were surfing? They were going across the oceans 400 years before Columbus, and Columbus is Columbus, and we were on the ocean 400 years before Columbus.
Right.
Why don't black kids know that?
Why don't we start a class?
I don't even know what y'all talking about.
But why isn't there a class for people of color that while everybody's
well, I guess it's later on.
I used to take a science for girls class. I was so mad at my mom. Like a science for girls for like 3 years. I had to go, and she was like, for every Saturday I would go do science class and with like a bunch of black girls, and it was just like, what the heck? And we were just like so bored, and we were just like, why?
Why did our moms do this to us?
I know.
I don't know.
But they're like, you're going to learn more, But these are the kind of things. But imagine if it was like mandatory, like black people, like from first grade all the way until high school, you had a Saturday course where you were learning how to, grow your own fruits to become vegan.
That's just going to cost.
What were you going to say?
But like to answer your question, there is no class for that. Ty here again.
Start it.
Because we're not involved in the board. You're not involved in like what's going on. So of course someone else is going to create it for you. And if someone else is creating it for you, not having you in mind, then of course things are going to be left behind. Even if you do that class and mandatory, I feel like that's good. But then it also solos out those kids, and like they feel like I have to go to this, and it's like us as parents and each other, we should just be having those type of conversations. True. Like try to replace talking about white folks all the time and bring up something positive about black folks or enlighten, and just try like for one time out the day, just say something. Even if they didn't know, I knew that. Oh, did you know this? Oh, yeah, I knew that too. All right, good. Now we educated. Now we can keep on and keep moving to the next person. So we got to put that back in our
But the power
back. Yeah, I don't agree with the mandatory black people on Saturday learn.
Why?
Do you know
Koreans do it, Asians do it, Jewish people do it, and they're advanced. Why can't we advance
ourselves? First of all, they're not. I don't think most of the
Kabbalah.
Do you know most?
Some say Hebrew school. They do. Chinese people go to school.
But you guys, do you know how much drama you're gonna have in this country if you try to do something like that? A lot of the times, the way it's masked on the weekends and it's okay is because it's religion or language oriented.
Oh,
kids are going to school to learn Chinese. They're going to school to learn religion, like CCD or Hebrew.
I agree.
But if you start doing a class for there's no language thing and there's no religion thing.
What are they doing?
What do you? So you're gonna piss a bunch of people off we don't have
you're creating a cult. You're trying to, some shit like that.
You're gonna get. No, I don't think it's gonna work.
Yeah,
I think you just need to.
With the black folks
I just think to the argument that we need to do a better job in the regular academic curriculum to incorporate more about Well, don't talk to me about church.
I'm just saying,
okay?
No. I'm
He's saying
church
to do it in the church
because that's where everybody's already.
In
yes,
church.
I'm masking. Everybody's already there. Everybody already dedicated.
You're
with
not
the
there.
Sunday service.
I'm anti-church, so that's not gonna work for me. But anyway,
I
just think that the educational system can do a better job of enlightening and talking about.
But
that's where I think it should, because white kids should learn that too. Why these newer, younger 5 or 6 year old white kids? Why? That's the problem. You want to break the cord here? You teach them what they should know. Don't segregate us.
They should know about
that way.
They should know about world history.
And they should also know about black history.
But black history teaches to everybody. If you want to get rid of oppression and racial injustice, everybody should be educated about that.
Because young black men, young black people will feel more proud of who they are by learning it. And then white people listening will be like, wow, black people really did a lot. Especially if they found out what we did for Europe back in the day and how we pretty much got them out of the dark ages.
All you learn about is the civil rights.
That's a real good point. That's a really good point, because I remember even having a conversation with this in school about we always used to have these political conversations, and they said, well, black people don't even, what have they contributed? They've not even contributed. All they've gotten, they were enslaved by cat. And at that time I didn't have the tools. Martin, that's not when you think about it, it's you didn't have the tools, but how about educate? If they really gave us really educated,
I had to self-teach myself to learn those tools.
Exactly. Imagine knowing
I wasn't prepared at all either.
Yeah.
I love history growing up.
There's you know how many inventions black people have created? Mm-hmm. You know how many inventions we don't even know about, some of the things that people use to this day. Mm-hmm. Do you know after the slaves were freed, they were the ones that had the most resources. That's why they were so powerful after during the civil rights era, not civil rights, the post slavery. Mm-hmm. They had all the resources. They were the ones that knew how to fish. They knew how to cook. Mm-hmm. They knew how to they knew how to hunt. They knew how to make, what is it, Hennessy and drinks, everything, because they did everything. Mm-hmm. So they can
live
create
off the
this.
Land.
I think we can.
So what's a big drink that I want to say it's Jack Daniels, mm-hmm. and it was the person who created learned Jack Daniels was from a black slave. The owner's white, but he credits some of this to a black slave. I believe it's Jack Daniels. Don't get me wrong. If I'm wrong, let me comment if it's Jack Daniels. But I remember reading this and I was like, wow. So you mean to tell me, imagine if that black man created his out instead of Jack Daniels, it was, Malcolm beverage, whatever. Right. But it was highly respected, was great, and people have been drinking it to this day. And we had a multi-billionaire at that level. Could you imagine? Yep. Mm-hmm. That's the problem, is that I just think in general though that, and this is social studies and history is a problem in terms of the way it's, because they equally don't talk about the indigenous people and anything, with Native Americans. I mean, there's so many different things that we don't have the true concept of. But I'll tell you, I did European history, and that thing bored the crap out of me.
Yeah, they'll go. But I'm saying, clearly they reframe history
Just in European history.
And that's why
you have to go take African American history.
And that's why I think Black History Month is BS, because they just teach about the same 4 people every Black History Month all the way through high school. It's like when we learn about some other than Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, like we get the 4
Langston Hughes.
Langston, the same 4, man. It's like
I went to because you know what they made us do? Go to the African American library. There's the Schomburg that's not too far from here. Go learn. Yeah. If you're in New York, you can go learn, or you can Google it. That's the cool thing about it. It's like how many Black investors, how many Black billionaires are there? How many entrepreneurs? What is the most successful career field? What should I be like? We can educate ourselves, but it would be great if when we were young we had a place we could do it.
Exactly.
So anyways, we're gonna end here because I feel like we went we didn't get to go into all our topics, but honestly this was a really important discussion. I mean, us, we can get on tangents, so thank you guys for listening to us. We appreciate you guys for listening. Leave us a comment. Please continue to share with friends and family. Follow us on Politricks Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, Politricks Pod. And I'm Kerstyn D on Instagram.
And I'm Maxine.Outerbridge.
Christopher Wright in New York, and that's _ between Christopher and N and Y. So
yeah, follow them. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. I think they got something they want to say.